Well, Curt, we're excited for you to come and do the Soul of Marriage conference in
Hmm.
Portland, Oregon,
Yeah,
hosted by Rolling Hills Community Church, May 1st and
yeah,
2nd.
yeah. Thrilled to be invited. Thrilled to be able to come. I think it's an honor and it's really humbling to be able to come and be part of your community. Just so grateful for the opportunity.
We are too. Um, Curious, Curt, you've been, a practicing psychiatrist, psychotherapist for a long time,
Hmm.
longer than I've been alive. And
Okay, good.
I'm I'm
So this
curious.
is this is how this is going to be.
This
Okay,
is how
good.
it's going to be. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
can't wait to come
curious.
to Portland.
I'm curious, what do you long for marriages?
That's a great question, Alan. I would say that more than anything, I long for individuals in marriages and then those couples as a whole, as one flesh unions. I long for them to have an expanded imagination of what God imagines that they are about. What is the purpose for their marriage? What is the power for their marriage? What is the presence for their marriage? What their marriage means, not just to them. Certainly, we want people to understand that, but what does their marriage mean to the world around them?
Mm,
I think in many respects, we as individual human beings, um, one of the things that evil does is that it really shrinks our capacity to comprehend that being an image bearer of God means that God wants me to be in the world in order for the world to be a better place. It's hard for me to get my head around that. I'm very consumed with the awareness that there's stuff wrong with me, and I do all kinds of things to compensate and cope with that end up demonstrating that I'm not the best guy in the world. And I think that when we have a better sense of how loved we are, it changes my nature of what that means that I imagine myself to be in the world, and not in some any arrogant sense, but in the same sense that my 1-year-old grandson right now walks around with this felt sense of comfort and confidence that his life is the life he's supposed to be living, and it's just one joyful thing after another, interspersed by lots of crying, which in some respects is kind of like it's okay for us to be. And I want that for us as couples to recognize. It's easy for us to think, oh, I'm going to do that work as an individual, but I really want us as couples to imagine that there's something that we are called to be, and not just to be doing, not just to getting it right, thinking it right, always behaving right, but who are we becoming for each other and for the world that sometimes has kind of escaped our attention, let alone our imagination. And I think that my hope is that we will come away from this weekend with our imaginations being fired in such a way that it will inspire us to live differently and live into that imagination that God has for us as
mm.
couples.
So how does this expanded imagination, as you're talking about, change the way I show up in the mundane moments of everyday life in a marriage?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, um, I have this group of three other men that I say like if these three guys don't live on the planet, I'm a dead man. I meet every Tuesday morning, and for 25 years, and with there's nothing about me that they don't know, and
Mm,
my being with them means that there are ways in which I am loved. They ask me questions about myself that I don't know to ask myself, that reveals parts of me that, as it turns out, I would rather just get rid of or at least hide from or whatever. And this creates opportunity for healing for those things. As it turns out, those things that they help me aspire to are what enable me to go back into my marriage and be the person that I want to be. What that means is that they help me imagine who I am in ways that I have a hard time imagining myself.
mm,
It's easy for me to walk around believing there is a part of me, I write about this in the deepest place. There's a part of me that believes I'm unwantable.
mm,
Not just unwanted, but unwantable. And, something shows up in in the kitchen with Phyllis and me, my wife Phyllis and me, and that old part of me gets activated in a heartbeat. And before I can even control the horses that are leaving the barn, I'm now saying something, being something that I don't want to be because my imagination has not yet captured that this unwantable part of me is actually deeply wanted by God.
mm,
And it's not going to be enough for me just to hear a preacher from a pulpit say, "Curt, you're loved. Curt, you're wanted." So it like that. I need to hear that, but it's only going to matter to me when I have the felt sense of it in my chest.
mm,
And then this means, oh, I'm if I'm practicing immersing myself in this, and this takes practice to immerse ourselves in these things, I become much more aware of the presence of my three other friends in my kitchen when I find myself in that moment where I want to react in ways that I'm not very proud of. This is not a thing where, like, oh, I've finally done this and now I'm perfectly loved and I never react like this again with Phyllis. It's more a matter of like, well, I used to do it once a week and then I would do it once a month. And now it's less, but I have the felt sense that I am actually trying to live in response to how serious God is about how much delight he takes in me.
mm,
But it cannot remain a cognitive theological concept. I was talking to someone earlier today. I said, yeah, they tell me that the earth is round, but I don't really care. Like it means nothing to me. Because why? Well, I'm not firing rockets to go to the moon. And so I can believe that the earth is round, but it doesn't change my life one iota.
mm,
But if I were firing rockets into the moon, like I gotta have a better sense of this. And I want to say this is what we're doing with marriages. Like we're not just living in a farm in Kansas or Thailand where if the world is round or not, it doesn't really matter. Like we have been made as image bearers who are firing rockets to go to the moon. This is the implication that our marriages have in the world. And again, I want to be clear, not because marriage is the end all and be all. Like this is about for those who are married and those who are not married. And we'll talk more about that in that time. But this whole notion of my imagination being inspired is a thing that with practice makes a difference in the micro moments of the interactions that I have with my children, with my spouse, with my friends, when couples are together, all these kinds of things, because we would say that couples are mini churches. This is what we
mm,
are. It's outposts that are planted in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our towns and cities, in our farms, all these places where we are living, that we are church outposts as families.
mm,
And the question is, oh, how does that enable my imagination to expand? And that will then change the notion of how I will live my life in my kitchen, in my
mm.
bedroom, when I'm changing
Yeah.
diapers, when I'm washing clothes, when I'm having to repair a rupture with my husband, with my wife, with my kids.
Hmm.
It makes all the practical difference in the world.
Yeah. If if marriage has been a point of deep pain for somebody,
Hmm.
and maybe they're still married, maybe they're not, for whatever
Hmm.
reason,
Hmm.
why should they consider coming to this conference?
Alan, if we're a human, and if we haven't yet, we're going to experience deep pain at some point. The context may be immaterial. And so if you're married or if you're single or if you're divorced or if you're I anything in between, this is a conference I think in which God is calling everybody who comes. God is calling people to healing first and foremost. There's no question that our wounds are most powerfully experienced in the context of intimate relationships, right? They first started with our parents. And for some of us, those relationships were hard. For others, they were catastrophic.
Mm, mhm,
But those relationships of intimacy, eventually, for many people, obviously not for everyone, but for many people, those relationships find themselves most commonly expressed in the context of marriage. And so we move from one set of intimate relationships, our family systems of origin, and all that that means. And we move from there, bringing that system with us into a different system of intimate relationships, recognizing that evil, being parasitic as it is, it doesn't just do bad things. It can only do bad things in the context of good things that are happening because it has to join something good that's already there. And so it's going to look for those systems that God wants to use to create beauty and goodness in the world. And so, of course, it's going to happen in families. Of course, it's going to happen in marriages where those places where the deepest intimate interlocking takes place. And by this, yes, sexuality, but mostly we're just talking about the depth of the intimacy of my relational and emotional interconnection with my spouse in ways that are going to happen whether I want them to or not. And that's going to be the devil's playground.
mm,
And so, because of that, it also becomes the space where the physician comes. When Jesus says, look, people who are well don't need the doctor. By implication, this doctor is coming to where those who are closest to death are still living.
mm,
And if your marriage feels like that, then we believe that this is a conference, at the very least of which you can come and you can be tempted, if you will, to hope
mm,
that something beyond your imagination is waiting for you. Because God is looking for the places where we are the sickest to do his most miraculous work.
mm, mm. That's good. Amen to that. It makes me excited, Kurt.
Mm, mm,
I forgot right there we were recording for a minute.
mm,
But yeah, makes me really hopeful. I've been telling
mm,
our church,
mm,
whether you're married or marriage is an aspiration of yours,
mm,
or marriage has been just a point of just so much pain,
mm.
really hope that you come. So
Yeah. Well, I think some of the
yeah.
news, this final thing. Here's the thing. There's nobody for whom marriage is not going to have significant pain points.
Mm, hmm,
Nobody. Every marriage is going to have significant pain points.
hmm,
We kind of like death, we have that in common.
mm,
The question is always going to be, what do we have available to us to repair the ruptures that those pain points represent?
mm,
That's really the issue that and we'll talk about this, about what does it mean to be, repairers of ruptures?
mm.
Because this ultimately is what Jesus is doing from the very beginning. I mean, God tried to do this with Adam. Where are you? It was an attempt to repair the rupture,
Yeah.
and Adam wasn't having it. And me, like I just got plenty of parts of me that just like, nope, nope, not having that conversation today. The woman you gave me, or some version of that, is a way for me to avoid myself when you
Mm,
come talking to me. And he just keeps coming. He just keeps coming to talk, and he's coming to Portland.
man, I love it. Well, Kurt, we are so excited to have you coming
Hmm.
back out to Portland. You were just here, and good to have you back.
Thank you.
So,
You. Yeah, pleasure. Looking forward
yeah,
to it.